Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduCurious. Today's guest is Kaylee Morgan, and I've had the pleasure of working with her, and she has a skill of combining structure and warmth. She's highly educated. Kids love her, and I am so thankful to welcome Kaylee on our show. So, hello, Kaylee.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I want to kick this off with what brought you to education? How did you get started becoming a teacher?
Growing up, I had a lot of teachers in my family, and I said I would never be a teacher because I saw what they went through and the conversations they had, and I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. And then in high school, our choir teacher that we had to leave. She had other priorities come up, and then they had hired a band director, which kind of took over all music components. I stayed in choir and I tried to push through, but it just wasn't what I was hoping for as like a true choir student. Meg Smith, who was the strings teacher, pulled me in and said, I want you to join orchestra because I was very upset with how things were going. I was beginning to hate my music classes, which was not normal for me. So she said, I want you to join orchestra and let's just see how it goes. So I joined orchestra knowing nothing about stringed instruments. She pushed me to better myself and to see a different perspective of music. At that time, I decided I'm going to be a music teacher because I want to inspire students the way Miss Smith has inspired me to push through even when things get hard and it's not what you expect, because there's so many beautiful things in life that we don't always get to see if it weren't for those teachers who push us to do more. So that's how I came into education. Then I went to Warner and studied music education, and I just fell in love with each class that went through.
Talk about some of those moments that just made it worth getting up and managing all the craziness in a classroom. What are some of those highlights, kid connections?
The kids that I think about are the ones when the teachers drop them off to specials and they're like, this one's having a rough day. And I'm like, yes, they're always having a rough day. But when they come into music, it's like they don't have a rough day with me because they can just have that creative outlet. They can be themselves. They can be free. They can hit a drum. They can play boom whackers. They can whatever they need to have that outlet, and they can leave in a better mood. And the teacher's like, what happened to this kid? And I'm like, they just got to have a moment to be themselves. So having those moments makes it easier to get up. Even when they come in your room and they're being problematic at the beginning, you know that by the end they will have had that outlet and you can see that they're going to have a better day because of the interaction you had with them. And then of course you have the kids that come in and love music and they ask all the questions and they want to be there and they want to create something beautiful and they ask you techniques and skills, and you're like, you're 7 years old, but you're asking, how do I play this correctly? Or does this go together? And it makes the education part of going through all the classes and learning all the things makes it worth it. You don't just show up because you love music. You show up because you love teaching kids how to better their skills, even if they think I don't like music, because there are plenty of those kids that come in at the beginning of the year and like, music is not my thing. I don't want to be here. But by the end, they found something that they love. Come in, they ask, are we going to do this today? Are we going to do that today? Because they've loved it. And knowing that you've opened a child's eyes to something new and something that they could potentially continue with for the rest of their life makes it worth getting up every day.
So within music and within education in a school system, a lot of priority is spent on those core subject areas. But I want your perspective on why music is so important to the whole child and the whole education process.
It's so good for the brain. I know every music teacher says that, and it's all over everything, but it just allows your brain to make connections that it doesn't make when you're just reading a book. It allows you to be creative without having to worry about erasing something off the paper or being told, no, that's not correct. Like in music, there are no mistakes. It's just creativity. So it allows them to have a safe space to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes without feeling like a failure or that they didn't do it right, because there is no right or wrong way to do it. So it gives them the confidence when they go back into their core classes that I can do hard things and I can try and I can be creative. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. We'll try again.
So it indirectly really does affect test scores in a positive way by helping foster the kids' confidence and complexity levels and creative outlet. So it's actually very essential in our overall test scores.
It is.
Talk about what you've been up to lately. You are finishing up your Ed Leadership Master's degree, which is no small feat. I want to hear about what you've learned, what you plan to do with it, and some of the great lessons you've gotten out of that higher ed program.
I have learned so much. Everything from you see principals and assistant principals and everything like running the facilities and all of those types of things. But you don't necessarily think about the connections that they're making with their staff members. We know as educators, it's so important to feel that connection to your administration, and to have that morale and that spirit of camaraderie. So, having this degree and going through this program, I've really had my eyes open to things like we need to focus on our staff and our relationship with our staff, or you're not going to reach the kids. Because if the staff doesn't feel like they're supported and respected, they're not going to want to be there. And when they do show up, they're just there. So if they feel respected, then the staff can turn around and respect the kids the way that we as administrators would respect them and expect them to behave. So that's one thing that I've really enjoyed focusing on. Another thing that I've learned a lot through this program is like culturally relevant literacy education and stuff like that. Just making sure that what we're teaching isn't just the test and it's not to get a point across, but it's to better the child. Just like with music education, the whole child, even if they're in a reading class and they're like, I don't want to read, let's find something that's relevant to you, something that's going to make you enjoy reading, and being able to encourage your staff members in a way to provide that type of education that you would want for your child. You would want the teacher to show up and be there for your child. So, as an administrator, you want to show up and be there for your staff. And of course, you learn all the fun things like budgeting and law and the things that make the school run. But I think if you don't have those relationships before you focus on those other things, you just have a building.
Now, prior to starting your degree, you've always been super plugged in. You're not just an educator, you took on different clubs and organizations. Talk about that component, the importance of that and leadership. The more you put in, the more you get out, that kind of angle.
Yeah, so definitely plugging in as an educator to do more than just teaching is huge. Because when I was at Bach teaching English, that's not what my certification was in. That I just happened to end up there, and I did love it, and I did love what I was doing. But there were days where I was like, I don't want to teach language arts. I want to be teaching music full time. But then to know that, like, hey, I get to do this with the eighth graders as their sponsor, or I get to have a National Junior Honor Society meeting and start a service project with the kids that's going to teach them how to serve their community. It made coming to work easier and more fun. And it just kind of varied up what you did throughout the day. It was challenging sometimes because I like to put a lot on my plate. And I know that. So sometimes there were days where I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do and so little time to do it. And I have to teach today. I can't just let the kids write and sit. But learning how to balance those things, I think also helped as I was in my master's program to learn those time management skills and kind of get an insight to how different things run on campus, how budgeting works and stuff like that, so that I can take those aspects and apply them to future career positions and things along those lines.
Speaking of balancing, you just had your third beautiful baby and you are still balancing all of this. You have a newborn, you're in your master's, and you are full time teaching. How do you do it? What do we need to know about it?
Lots of prayer and lots of coffee. Knowing that going through my master's is not just to better me, but to do more for my family, to be able to provide more for my family. That's helped push me through my program. But having our oldest at school with me makes it a little bit easier to be at work because you know that you get to impact them, especially being the music teacher. They come to your room. So you're not just teaching kids, you're able to teach your kid. But I think just setting boundaries and establishing expectations for yourself of I'm comfortable with doing this and I'm not comfortable with doing that. Like if you don't want to bring work home, maybe you got to show up to work 30 minutes early to get something done, or you have to stay 30 minutes later to get something done. Having a support system is so important. I love having that my mom can watch the kids, or if one of the kids are sick, my husband is great. And it's like, I'll just take the day and be with the kids. So that's so helpful. But just personally, if I had to choose one thing that made it easier to be a new mom, 3 kids, master's program, full-time teaching, it's just time management and setting boundaries for yourself and saying, I'm not going to take work home today, so I'm going to get up 30 minutes early and go in and get it done because my kids need me. Or I have to write this paper when I get home today. So we're going to have dinner and some family time, and then I'm going to lock myself in the room while you hang out with dad. And just knowing that those are the expectations and boundaries and being comfortable with that, and knowing that you can get things done in a timely manner and not necessarily wasting time, but just being efficient with what you've been given.
So, Kaylee, you're doing a really good job with balancing what you have going on right now. What is your 5-year plan? What do you aspire to do in the educational world? What do you aspire to do in the educational world in the next 5 years?
I would ideally like to see myself in an administrative role after having my master's and getting all my certifications and everything. Just continuing to empower students and being able to take on leadership roles, even if it's not, like an official administrative role, just to inspire others to show up and be their best every day and to give everything they can to these kids, because they're not always getting that at home. So when we show up and we can give 100%, then they're at least getting that somewhere. But ideally, I would like to be, an assistant principal or principal, but definitely want to start the assistant principal's position because there's so much to learn. And even though my master's program has been wonderful and my internship principals have been great, there's just a lot that you don't get to do hands-on until you're there. So being able to be an assistant principal first and take that first step and kind of be able to come alongside somebody to better a campus would be my first goal.
What do you think are some of your strengths within leadership?
So my strengths are listening effectively, letting people share their thoughts and letting them have a moment, and then coming together and saying, okay, how do we solve this? How can we work through this together? And also time management. I'm really good at getting a lot of things that I have to get done in a short amount of time and getting it done. I think it's just the way that I'm wired. I can see tasks and say, okay, most important, least important, but we're going to get it all done. So we're going to manage our time. A lot of people are like, how do you get things done? I'm like, well, I just manage my time. So effective listening, pathetic listening also goes along with that, because you want to feel validated and heard. And maybe I'm not going to agree with you. And maybe we're not going to see the same way when we're done, but you're going to feel validated in that I heard you and that you're respected in your thoughts and your beliefs. And we're going to do what's best for the whole campus or situation, whatever it may be.
What are some initiatives that you would want to implement?
I feel that the charter really needs to focus on, for me personally, music education as a whole, because the music educators that we have are great, but we don't have validity across the schools. Our elementary schools are doing pretty good. We all have teachers that are excited and willing to be there. But our middle school levels, we have band programs, we have strings programs, but then there's no choir. So I also teach at the high school. I teach the choir class at the high school. So I'm like not having any feeder program to my high school. So that's been kind of frustrating. So being able to just kind of put an emphasis on this whole child education, that music is so important to, and that we say that and that it improves test scores, but we're not going to invest in it and we're not going to pour into it. That's something immediately that's been pressing on my heart and mind. System wide, I think having a strong leader that would choose to bring to light the positive things about all of the schools, but just being more positive and validating and encouraging, because if we focus on all the negative things, that's all we're going to see. So when we take time to find the positive things and, okay, we're going to focus on that. And yes, we have to work on this over here that's not so pretty, but this is a strength. So you can feel positive and validated in that. But we need to work on this, whatever that may be for each campus, and just choosing to not belittle different campuses. And that's not even just within the charter. I feel like that's everywhere, that one school is better than the other. That's not necessarily true. Every child needs a different type of education and type of teacher in their life. So choosing to focus on that we all have our differences, that we can all serve different populations and students better, is something that I think we could focus on, instead of just saying this school is better than this school or this program is better than this program. Like, no, they're all great, but we can choose to validate each other.
Talk about the importance of connection with community and education and families.
Being plugged into the community is super important. I grew up with parents that were very involved in the community, and that positively impacted my life, like in education, like as a student, and just being able to comfortably communicate with other adults in my life that, your average person might be nervous to talk to, but like, no, they're just another person. They're just the same as you. And having parents that were engaged with those kinds of things and involved us as their children And those experiences gave me the opportunity to be comfortable in more uncomfortable situations with higher known people, whatever. But having relationships with community members as a teacher is so important because you can invite different types of people to come into your classroom and speak on skills that you don't have, or like being involved with the Arts Council. I direct summer camp there. We talk about classes throughout the year. So having that connection, being at Hillcrest, which, is like our School of the Arts within the charter, being able to have that connection and feed off of each other and give each other ideas and share resources is so important. Being able to know community members and be involved, especially once you get into leadership, is so important. And it's not just to rub elbows and to, can you give me your money? Like, I know that sometimes that's how it can feel when you build those relationships with community members, that it's just transactional. But you don't want it to just be transactional, because if it is, it stops at the transaction and it doesn't come to feed that whole student or that whole school. So being able to be involved in the community allows me to build those relationships with people that can come in and speak to skills in areas that I may not be equipped to address because that's not my personality, that's not my wheelhouse. So having those friends, they come and they can feed the whole child and make education well-rounded.
Do you think we can infuse more volunteers and community members within the education framework?
Absolutely. I feel like my whole master's program was about that. How do we get more community engagement? And while the state sometimes makes it very difficult to get that engagement with all of the requirements and everything, I think having an open campus where you're inviting people to come to things, or reaching out and saying, hey, do you know somebody who can do this? Or parents, we just want you on campus for a library night or for awards or whatever it may be. Having more people on campus is important because it shows the children that we care about their family and not just them. We care about the community as a whole. We look beyond the state test. We look beyond getting the standard learned. We're looking to show you the world, which is really what education should be, opening up the world to a child. So when we invite more volunteers and we have more people on campus, we're able to open up their world to new things that they may not get to see if they just came to school and went home.
So, Kaylee, you have a really busy summer lined up. You are going to be running the Arts Council summer program. I want to hear all about what you have to offer and how you've been able to bridge connections with the various local schools.
Lake Wales Arts Council has been having summer camp for many years now, but for the last 2 years, it's my second year directing camp. And we've been at Hillcrest because we've outgrown the Arts Council, which is a great problem to have. But we offer things like, we're going to have pottery this summer. We have music, theater, photography, painting. We're going to have 2 art teachers most weeks. So like one teacher is going to do pottery, and then we're going to have like mixed media with painting. I've already got all their lesson plans lined up. So lots of opportunity to try different things and be creative in a safe space. And having connections with other schools through the Arts Council is so important because we have teachers from all over the charter system and within the county coming to teach. We have a teacher from McLaughlin coming to teach. We have teachers from Jewett School of the Arts coming. We have an elementary music teacher coming from, I'm not sure where she is, but she's in the county. And then we have just people who just love their craft. We have a guy named Tommy. He just loves theater and he connects so well with the kids. So he brings a different perspective because he's not like, your educator. So he comes in and just brings some fun and some life into the program that sometimes not the teachers don't bring, but just a different type of energy into his classroom. So it's fun to see how they all come together to have like traditional educators and then just people who enjoy their hobby coming to teach these kids more about their skills, that they get different types of instruction that's not just, oh, okay, 15 minutes we're going to do this, 20 minutes we're going to do that, and then we're going to go to lunch.
If I'm planning ahead, like long term ahead, and I wanted to be part of next year's summer camp, how would I get started on that if I wanted to teach one of those programs?
You can reach out to me because I'm planning on directing until they tell me I'm not. And we will get you plugged in. Let me know what your skills are, what you see. It's very much like I reach out to different instructors and, hey, what's your vision? What are you passionate about? What do you want to teach? And that's what I want to hear from you. Like, what are you passionate about? What do you want to teach little kids, 6 to 13-year-olds? What are you excited about? What do you have to share with them? Things along those lines. And if you want to volunteer, like if you're, I'm like, I don't want to teach, We love volunteers because we like to put one volunteer with each group for the whole week so they can anticipate the kids' needs because they know those kids. They've been with them for 8 hours a day for 2 days a week now. So Wednesday, someone comes in and they're kind of in a funk. Our volunteers like, hey, this kid's not themselves today. So we can kind of investigate that. But if you want to volunteer and just be there and you're like, I don't want to have the commitment of having to be responsible for what these kids are learning, we love to have volunteers just like we would on a regular school campus. We need people to engage with the kids in a meaningful way to help them because sometimes the instructors are over here helping and this kid needs help. So you can kind of just jump in and help with that too. And we're starting a teen camp this year, which we're super excited about. It's just a 1 week camp and it's totally focused on pottery. So we're going to have an actual like potter there putting clay on the wheel. And then we're going to fire them and they're going to paint them and they're going to get to do the whole experience. And we're super excited to be implementing that because we have these camps for these little kids and then they finish 8th grade and we're like, okay, bye, go get a summer job or whatever. But some of them don't want to do that. They want to do camp still. So we started a teen camp for high schoolers for 14 to 18-year-olds, and they can just come and learn how to do pottery in a low stress environment. And I'm super excited to see how that unfolds.
About once the teens get to the age where they want to reinvest in the community, do you have a program to connect them back into where they started and volunteer within the little kids camp?
Our volunteers for the kids camps for the 6 to 13-year-olds are mostly high schoolers. And a lot of them are kids that have been at camp previously. Because I know some kids aged out last year and they've already applied to come volunteer with the younger kids this year. So I reached out to both Lake West High School and McLaughlin and sent the registration. There's a registration form that they just basically apply and say, like, what are you interested in? Have you ever done this before? And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and the kids come and they get community service for it. So it's a great way for them to earn quite a few hours and be able to still do what they love because they get to participate. Even though they're there to help, they still get to do the projects and be part.
What does the day look like for this camp? You said it's 8 hours a day. What's the span? How do I register my kids? Is it too late or is it in June and then another in July? Kind of go over those details.
My registrations for each camp close the Thursday before camp starts. So our first camp is June 16th. So registration would close the Thursday before that. And then there's another camp the last week in June. And then we take the 4th of July week off. And then we have one more week, the second week of July. So we have 3 weeks total this year. And you can register up till the Thursday before. Scholarship window is closed. So you'd have to pay full price, but there are half day options. If you didn't want to send your kid for the whole day, they can come and just do the 9 to noon or the 1 to 4. So that's the schedule, 9 to 4. Volunteers, teachers show up at 8. We get set up. We get ready to go. We delegate tasks for the day. We open the doors at 8:30. Kids come in. This year, we're going to add like small crafts in the morning, coloring sheets, board games, different things that they can engage in. And then at 9, they go to their first class. They're there for 50 minutes. Then they have a 10-minute window to like go to the bathroom and whatnot, get water, just give their teacher a break to reset their room. And that's when the volunteers come in because we need them to be able to shuffle the kids around to where they're going. So they have 3 classes in the morning, lunch, and then 3 classes in the afternoon. This year, we're implementing something different. We're going to try a block schedule. So in the morning on Monday, you'll have these 3 classes, and then you'll have the next 3 classes Tuesday morning. And that way, morning kids get all classes and afternoon kids get all classes. And then our all day kids still get all their classes every day. But it's like one day you'll have it in the morning, one day you'll have it in the afternoon. And we're hoping that that gives more opportunity for the kids that are there for half day. And it gives the instructors a break from, I don't have the 6-year-olds at 4 o'clock every day. Because by the end of the day, they can be a little tired and whiny. So having them first thing in the morning will be a nice shake up for those teachers. And each camp has a different theme. So you're not getting the same projects. So we have some families that send their kids every camp. That way they're not getting the same projects every camp, able to vary it up because we have a carnival this year, DIY, and under the sea, but they get to do different types of crafts within that theme. And then on Friday, we have our showcase, which is at 11. And parents come and they get to see their kids perform what they've been working on. They get to walk through the gallery at the Arts Council and see their kids' artwork displayed. And it just makes the kids feel like a rock star because they've done all this work all week long. And then their parents get to come see it and they get to take their artwork home and they get to have memories that last beyond just being in camp.
So you direct this entire production. Planning starts, I'm sure, way in advance. Where do you see this summer camp opportunity with the Arts Council going? Because we have such a need in this area for quality summer programs.
We love to see it grow, and that's why we've moved our physical camp to Hillcrest, so we have the space. Being able to have more scholarship opportunity for kids because, art supplies and quality instructors are not cheap. So being able to find people who invest into this dream of building an arts culture here within Lake Wales. Being able to find those people that invest in that would be huge. That way we can offer more scholarship opportunities because I know last year there were a lot of Hillcrest kids because it was advertised at Hillcrest so much because it was on Hillcrest campus, which is great. But to be able to serve other populations within our community, I think is the long term goal. And I feel that we got to advertising a lot sooner this year. We had instructors picked out beginning of March. So we've been able to kind of advertise more specifically this year than just show up to camp. We're able to say, hey, this week we're going to have these and these types of instructors, and this is what you're going to do. And being able to pull teachers from different campuses around Lake Wales and having them be excited to share with their students, like, hey, I'm going to be there. You should come. And that was before the registration window even opened. So then they're able to speak into their students and, hey, I want you there. I see this in you and you're going to love this. And being able to connect with those parents. So hopefully within the next 3 or so years, we're able to need a bigger space even again than Hillcrest because we have so many kids. And being able to instill that arts culture that we see so often advertised down around the lake, having the Pioneer Days and the art show and everything, just starting at a young age to be able to build those programs too. So it's coherent across all aspects and all ages.
So if somebody wants to help financially, advocate, volunteer, all of those things, they just need to get on the Arts Council website or contact you.
Yeah, or they can just call the Arts Council, and I'm sure Tommy Frank or Gigi Hernandez would love to speak with whoever would be interested in advocating or donating or saying, hey, I know somebody. They would love to have those conversations. And if you want to speak with me, they'd get you in touch with me as well.
So this is absolute great experience with directing large campuses because you're already doing it now. So many moving parts. What a great segue into the leadership role. Do you have any advice to somebody who's interested in getting into education or maybe switching careers? Any sort of like tidbits that you're like, hey, think about this first, or don't think about it, jump in. I've never been more happy.
I would say consider the cost of loving others before loving yourself sometimes because showing up every day and loving other people's kids can be hard. And then coming home and having the energy to love your own kids or yourself can be exhausting. So just knowing your limits and like taking that time for self care and on the weekends, taking that time with your family to love them well, to re energize so that you have more to pour into those other kids because they may not be getting it at home. Just knowing that they need that extra grace and that extra love would be advice I have. And then I would say don't overthink it. Think with your heart sometimes because I know myself, I can overthink things and let different thoughts kind of run rampant in my mind. So just if it's something that you feel passionate about, you feel called to, just jump in and just find where you fit. I love what I'm doing. I said I would never teach middle school, and then I was there, and I just told Austin the other night, like, I secretly miss my middle schoolers. Just thinking with your heart sometimes and not letting your mind take advantage of all the different scenarios that could take place. Just if you feel a love and a passion for kids and opening that world up to them, just jump and go for it, and you'll find where you fit.
Kaylee, thanks for spending time with us on EduCurious. I admire you and respect you, and I can't wait to see the growth and opportunity that comes your way because you really put in the work. And thanks for joining us today. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just EduCurious, join the community as we explore various educational topics and learn from each other. We'll see you next time.